Well, in fact, Sai Baba was after me for years, telling me I was going to write this book. And I kept saying, no, I'm not. The whole idea of an autobiography was foul to me, writing about myself, writing about whatever. Then he said, no, you're going to write a book, and blah, blah, blah. When you've got to start writing, I never did. He told me over and over again. But as you know, I've been writing this book about my relationship, not only with Sai Baba, but the many, many years I spent with the yogini Phyllis Krystal and going into other realms with her. I must show you the, I have it, the cover of the book. You want to know how I got here? I had a tragic upbringing, which was full of death and destruction and violence, suicide, lovelessness in particular. And I was a broken person. And I was so broken that I had to, my parents sent me off, and it went past the 9th grade. They sent me off to work in factories in England, just in Carlisle, the armpit of England. But then he gave me this amazing way to make money, bringing these cars back. It started with £600 investment. You may have heard the story. The next thing you know, I'm turning 19, 2 years of 8 months of flipping these cars with my original investment. And I decided that I want to use that to celebrate the heroes of the revolution. I turned 19, I had $250,000. It was 1969. And so I, first of all, I ended up giving a lot of it away to my friends. And then I had enough to open the Hard Rock and did. But when I did, I just came out of this horror scene where I'd been withdrawn. I had to learn to speak. The Hard Rock gave my voice back. But I was in such a bad way. I blamed myself for both of my brother's death, for my parents' activities and so forth. And while I was doing the Hard Rock, I was actually drinking myself to death. I wanted to commit suicide. I was 22 years old, and the first year of the Hard Rock, I would work as hard as I could, but I'd come back home at night and drink a fifth of Jack Daniels. Big deal, but alcohol was the big thing to try to kill myself. And the Beatles graphics designer who'd done the logo, who became one of my best friends, he made a picture. He drew a picture of me that first year. It opened in June of 71, and at the Christmas of 72, he loved me, he was so worried about me. He drew a picture, this amazing graphics designer, of what I was like in those days. And that is going to be the cover to this book I'm writing, just to let everybody know where I come from. So I'm going to show it to you. That's me riding a rail to hell. The book is called Within and Without, Isaac Tigrett. But you see what I look like. I was tortured. It went on for years. I could work better than anyone I ever saw. I could work endless hours, but when I was alone and within myself and not working and having this wonderful business, I was totally self-destructive. That's why I wanted to put this on the cover of the book. That's where I came from. That's where Baba sent me. That's what he gave me to deal with. The great lesson in luck for me is that instead of it leaving these permanent scars, although I still have a few, he gave me guidance out of this whole thing. He gave me that love all, serve all, and doing that in the day and being pure and real about it and not any nonsense. It's not any verbal, and loving these kids and adoring. They're all younger than me. They're all about my age, actually. Some were younger, but I was only 22 years old. So doing that in the day, spreading love and peace and trying to build a business on that, and then doing this at night. You got to be kidding me. Where does that come from? He was preparing me for the work that I was about to do, because what that did, in fact, I asked him when I first called me in, some 15, he says 17 years later, he said, any questions? And I said, yes, I have a question. Why was I born into a family where there was so much lovelessness and death, insanity, suicide, violence, destruction? He sort of smiled at me. He said, well, to soften your heart. And I realized then what I thought was a curse was a blessing, because to soften the heart of that creature that came in from past lives. It was so dangerous. I needed to have those things to happen to me. I needed to come into the world in a dark and horrible place where I'd put other people. And I needed to find my way out of it. But the key was what he said to me. Why was I born into a family, which many of you are watching now have had the same problems, same difficulties, nothing new. It's all part of life. But the key to my release from all of that was, look, to soften your heart. How did I get the compassion to go on? How did I get the compassion to do anything? And especially, how would I recognize him if I hadn't opened my heart and mind up to a higher nature? So I thought I'd share that with you all who think I'm such a hero. I'm just another fella. It's just that I brought in remarkable things from past lives. Swami wanted me to help me with his mission with Phyllis, which we did actively. I'm writing a book about that and everything else. Swami is through Madhusudhan, and then Madhusudhan himself just recently, said you've got to finish the book. So I've been here writing the book for the last 2 years, and I hope to have something out. I might leak out little things on some website that all of you can look at from time to time. I mean, the only person I know that was Phyllis Krystal, who dedicated her whole life. Phyllis was with Edgar Cayce when she was young. They thought she was receiving the Akashic record. She was with Carl Jung, the famous psychiatrist, therapist, who was a spiritualist as well. She was with Aldous Huxley in groups that were meeting about spirit. She was with a very unique, she was a true yogi. She studied under masters in Burma. And then she got an Indian guru in northern India. She and her husband, this was a constant search. It was her duty. And then the guy told her that enemies of his had gotten hold of his horoscope and they were going to kill him on a certain date. He was going to die and there was nothing could be done, and that she had to go south and look for a new guru. And the guy did die on that date. And she came south looking for a guru, and when she met Sai Baba, they met and she knew he was the one, vice versa. But that lady is Swami, I cannot tell you what it's like to be with a yogi, 4 nights a week for 10 years, because he had me go and be with her. We recorded these sessions, 690 of them. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. He told me not to. I'm going to release a few of them in this book, maybe 10 or 15. And I might have put a few out for you guys just so you can see what it was like. It's a fascinating thing because there have been many things that they say channeling, receiving, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the New Testament was written 200 years after Jesus died. It was obviously channeled and given. You have modern things like A Course of Miracles, or you have the Shasta mountain up here where they had the seventh ray, and what's that guy's name? Oh, the Saint Germain, and all that stuff was downloaded and so forth. And it's been throughout history. I mean, this is what the great oracles were all about. This is what all those civilizations. But nobody ever had a recording of it actually happen. I have 690 recordings over 10 years, 4 or 5 nights a week that we got together, where Sai, a multitude of beings and others would come and teach and teach and teach. And we would go out and help people and this and that. So I don't know what to do with them. He told me to keep them to myself. There's only 3 copies. I think one he has, I don't know where, at the ashram. One Murti, one other gentleman, and myself. I don't know where they're so amazing, but I'm going to put a few of them out there and you can see what it's like. But this may fascinate you because this woman dedicated her life. She was also a great spiritualist. She talked all over the world. She was followed by tens of thousands of people. Her book sold millions of copies, and she was a real deal. But when she became like 98, she couldn't travel as much and she was starting to fall apart. By the time she was 99, she was having really difficulties. Her whole body was, and at 100, she called me and she said, you've got to go tell Sai Baba, I can't do my work anymore. My body's not working, my mind, my chemistry, everything is falling apart and I'm ready to go. And so I went to him and told him, I said, Phyllis is ready to go. He said, no, 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 she can't go yet. She has one attachment. She can't, until she gets rid of that attachment, she cannot, her last life. She's a yogi. This is her very last life. Okay, and in this last life, there can be no attachments to anything. And so I told her, and she said, well, I don't understand. I've done everything. I've been with him this my whole life, and this and that. And I don't understand. And then she would call me later and said, go ask him again. This attachment, I don't know what we're talking about. And I went, he said, no, she's got one attachment, just one, to be free of the mind, the body, the karma, the many lifetimes, the whole thing, to be free, last life. This is it. You can't bring anything, no attachments can you bring into this space, this new frontier. And so I told her, and she said, I don't know what he's talking about, and blah, blah, blah. And then he finally revealed that her last attachment that she had to get rid of before she could go on was her attachment to Sai Baba. So she cut that attachment and moved on at 102. I hope you can understand that.
Thank you, brother. Isaac said the next question has to do with your book, and they're asking, when is the book likely to be?
This book? You mean this one? Sai Baba actually, he called it Within and Without. He named it. He hasn't approved the cover, but I don't care what he says. I'm putting myself on the cover. I'm working on it. I have been working on it for 2 years. It's a very, very difficult thing. To combine, you know, an incredible and amazing and wild personal life that I've had, so many wild stories and things that I've experienced, you know, my material life with my spiritual life, and put the two together. How do you go? And that's why he said the book is Within, Without. You do one chapter about the inward you and one chapter about the outward you. So I've been struggling with it. I've been, even to try to find a publisher is ridiculous, because there's spiritual publishers, but they don't do commercial books. And there's commercial books that would love to do an autobiography of the guy that did the Hard Rock of the House of Blues and hung out with all these people, blah, blah, blah. But it's hard for any publisher to put the two together. I'm just finishing, I got set in front of a camera basically for 2.5 years with a professional videographer. I just told stories. And I've inserted them all. I have an incredible website. I have them all on now, and transcripts and photographs and films and all that stuff. We'll see what happens. But 2024, the guy that I am talking to, the publisher, said 2024, he probably might be able to get it out. Who knows? But I'm going to put little pieces out before something happens to me.
We sure are looking forward to that, brother. So another question is,
you like the cover, my dear? You like the cover?
if you like it, I like it.
It's perfect. What are you talking about? It's a replica of me at 22 years old. Come on, at 21 too.
When I started seeing you, you've already looked like a saint always, so I can't picture you like that.
Believe me. Again, I go back to my evolution, and that's my book is going to talk about it. But the evolution was not only this wild life that I led, and no different than a lot of other people, but how he also used me and my energy and my power to serve others through that wild life. And then at the same time, he brought me into a spiritual realm that, you know, I've belonged in and I needed to be in. I came in to help him with his, Phyllis and I, to help him with his mission. I'm 74. I could barely walk around. That's okay. I'm sure he's going to keep me around to get this book done, and who knows what else. But that's what my main thing is, to hopefully finish this book, and then I'll be able to go home.
We all are.
I have to say to Isaac, you know, your life is one of the most fascinating, inspirational lives, and it needs to go well beyond the Sai devotee group. You know, I think the book is obviously something that will reach out, but when Hollywood makes a movie from that book, that's when this story will really get told. And I hope that does happen. Swami will make it happen.
Well, Swami did say that the book would be very popular. And he said, and then he was, I don't know where he kept talking and telling you, oh, Tigrett's writing a book on metaphysics. He was upsetting everybody. All the Indian folk were saying, why has that guy got metaphysics? Why did he give it to him? Anyway, so it was quite amazing because he said a film will be made, Tigrett, of the book.
Ah, okay.
But if you don't watch your health, you won't be alive to see the film. That's what he told me.
Well, here's a trivial question. Who should play Isaac Tigrett?
Isaac Tigrett, of course.
Yes, exactly.
That would be wonderful. Anyway, it was a fascinating evening. We are so grateful.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Sai Ram to you
Ram
all.
to you. Yes.
Ram, Sai
Sairam,
Ram.
Sairam.
న్యూయార్క్లో ఉండినటువంటి ఈ టైగ్రేడు ఈ కుగ్రామమైనటువంటి పుట్టపర్తికి వచ్చి ఈ విధమైనటువంటి దానం చేయటం అనేటువంటిది అది ఎక్కడ చేసినప్పటికీ ఒక్కటే, కానీ అతని భావము ఈ విధంగా ఆకర్షించింది.
Tigrett from New York has come to Puttaparthi to give in charity and help this cause.
కనుక అతన్ని వర్ణించడం కాదు, కానీ అతని యొక్క త్యాగాన్ని ఆనందించటమే.
Swami is telling us how to enjoy his sense of sacrifice and
ఇంతటితో
not praising
కాక
him.
మున్ముందు కూడాను ఇలాంటి కార్యం లోపల మా టైగ్రేడు ఇంకా కూడాను త్యాగాన్ని అభివృద్ధి గావించుకోవాలని నేను ఆశిస్తూ ఆశీర్వదిస్తున్నాను.
Swami blesses him that he develops more and more sense of sacrifice.
ప్రేమ పిచ్చని ఈ పాత్రతో పెడుతున్నాను.
This vessel, silver vessel, is a flower of love.
ఈ ప్లానును చాలా శ్రమల కోర్చి ఎన్నో నెలలంతా కూడా రాత్రింపగలు కష్టపడి ఈ ప్లానును చాలా బాగా వేశాడు.
Show me how you do that trick, the one that makes me scream. He said, the one that makes me laugh. He said, and threw his arms around my neck. Show me how you do it, and I promise that I'll run away with you. I'll run away with you. Spinning on that dizzy edge, I kissed his face and I kissed his head and dreamed of all the different ways I had to make him glow.